Hello, Earthlings, angels, spiritual beings, everybody out there. Hello, Chris. Can you hear me?
Wait a second. Does it look frozen to you?
You don't look frozen to me.
Oh, that's good, but it looks frozen on the
Yeah, it does look frozen on YouTube.
awesome. Awesome. I love when that happens. Well, what do we do about that?
Frozen. They're saying.
Frozen. Great. I love that. Let's see.
I'm
Let
actually
me
seeing your
just
whole zoom on there. I'm seeing your bottom zoom controls also.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's
Okay,
just
guys, do you hear us? Guys and gals
Oh,
out
I think we're
there, our
okay.
videos.
I think we're okay now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
I think we could just go.
Mahela from Romania. Okay, are we good? Yetzi says we're good. Okay.
All right.
Excellent.
We did it. We
Okay,
did it without a
Ben.
soft.
Okay. Yes, Asaf, we miss you today. Asaf has had something he had to deal with, so we're here today with Chris in his fancy shirt and
Thanks for
me in my
noticing.
regular shirt.
I thought it was gonna match you. I wasn't expecting you to be casual Joe from the Bronx.
Do I usually come dressed up?
Oh, maybe a little bit more. I was expecting like more
Okay.
wintry attire. Isn't it cold over there?
It is cold, but it's so hot in the house. I just opened the window. This time of year, I always start getting so dry because it's so
Yeah,
hot inside.
yeah.
Anyway, fellow Earthlings, it's getting to be winter in the Northeast. Spiritual creatures who don't necessarily dwell on Earth or wherever you are, friends from all over the world who are joining us. Hello, welcome to the Great Transition, where we, the students of the Kabbalist Michael Lightman, look at what's going on in the world through this very special and unique perspective, through the lens of the wisdom of Kabbalah. What is Kabbalah? Check us out. Go to kabuconnect.com. You see who we are, what we're about, where we get this from, and why we are doing this. Turns out that there is a lot more to life than meets the eye, and turns out there's really nothing bad happening. It turns out that everything we experience as bad is really the distance of that's our perception. The degree of the bad is like the degree of how far we are from that whole perfect reality that we want to
Mm.
get to. It's just a measurement. Anyway, Chris, questions on my mind after a lot of news stories I read this
What
last
kind of news
week.
stories?
Why and how did God give these other people billions and not us? That is my
Mm.
main question, because while people say money doesn't make you happier, or people say, I don't know, whatever they say, I would like to, I think, have it, and then I will tell you.
Mm.
Because you can't really, without a billion, I can't really say that a billion makes you happier or not. But with it, having not had it and then having it, I would be able to give you a more.
Well, the argument is like, hey, I don't need a billionaire to tell me, hey guys, money doesn't make you happy. It's like, hey, let me cover my month to month and not have to worry about all these little small things and then tell me does it make me happy. First, just give me the what was this? I think even Asaf mentioned something about billionaires basically agreeing to the fact that yeah, there will be a universal income eventually, but in the meantime, we're gonna like we're gonna ride this wave as long as we can until we have to start divvying out a part of our salary too. But yeah, we get it. We've all looked at billionaires and thought, yeah, that would be great.
There's
Come
an
on,
article
don't lie. Yeah.
our friend Chris from the UK sent. Another Chris from the UK sent
Yes.
money from the Times of London. Money really does make you happy, study finds. Participants were each given $10,000 and they had to spend it within 12 weeks. And unless they were rich to begin with, they all reported that it boosted their mood.
Oh,
If someone gave you
shocker.
$10,000 and said you had to spend it within 12 weeks,
You had to
um,
spend it. That's like Christmas for like 12 weeks.
yeah, so it turns out that not so bad. But the sad part of our story now is that some people lost a ton of money recently. Poor billionaires. The world's biggest
Right.
cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, lost over half of its value recently.
Well, wait,
And
wait, wait a second. Yes, you're right about that. Let's clarify though. Let's backtrack just 5 seconds and say,
Okay.
Yeah, money doesn't make you happy, but it makes your life easier. That's two different things, right? Let's be honest. Like, yeah, my life would be easier, but I'm not asking for a happy life. I'm asking just for like a little bit easier
I'm
life.
not sure about that. Have you never heard of mo money, mo problems? I'm not sure that more money makes your life easier.
Well,
For
I think there's a
sure,
threshold there,
yeah, for sure,
right?
it's no good to not have any food and not have a place to sleep. That's for sure. So I'm not talking about that.
Yeah,
If you can't
okay.
even survive, that doesn't even count.
There is just a little kind of like gray area, like like what point is too much money to where it actually becomes worse for you versus you know what I'm saying? There's this line where it's like, okay, I have my necessities, but then a little extra would just make me happier or make me feel more comfortable. We're not really talking about that, but there's kind of like a strange fine line. But then there's
This
the
is let's
extreme of billions and billions, right?
let's keep that in mind because once you have every possible thing, I mean, you have a home, your kids have what they need, you have your bills are paid.
Yeah,
So then what else what is the reason for the constant accumulation of more and more billions? And
right.
that I think gets to the point
That's
of
a
where we want to
question.
go today.
Did you read
Yeah.
the chat here? Did you read the chat here? So RA.
No, not
I'm not
yet.
sure what RA is, but they're saying I work as a massage therapist and I felt some really wealthy backs and necks, and money does not make them happy. I assume that's kind of alluding to the fact that they're like
Interesting.
very stressed, possibly. Maybe you clarify for us, RA. But I think I get this. Yeah. Uh huh. Go ahead.
Okay. Um, so one of the largest crypto exchanges, we talked about this guy, SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. Remember, he was a billionaire. He wanted to give all his money to good causes, and we kind of laughed at his naivety.
Wait, wait.
But his not we
He's the
didn't
one
wish him
left.
any bad,
Right. Right.
huh?
Right. Well, I
But
mean,
just
yeah.
how
Keep going.
naive it is to think that if you have a lot of money, you're going to fix the world. So he had one of the largest. He was part of one of the largest crypto exchanges called FTX. It was run
Mm-hmm.
by him. I think he's 30, and a bunch of other young people in their 20s and 30s. They lost
Yeah.
tens of billions of dollars in value, meaning other people's money. Last week
Right.
or in the last couple of weeks, they're under criminal investigation now. We're not a news show.
Oh,
We're not going to talk about it. But
I
oh
didn't
yeah,
know it was
there's
that
a lot of
serious.
really interesting things if for people who have free time and want to look into that. But that's not what we're about here.
Mm,
Just what is interesting is that they're not the only ones who lost really big recently. The Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg, his company
yes.
share price
Yeah.
plummeted. He lost something like if I lost like 100, I'd be bummed. He lost
Right.
100 billion.
That's. I feel like I don't have an emotion towards that because I can't grasp it. But I
What is a
feel
billion
that.
dollars?
Right.
Yeah, so that's another fun thing to Google sometimes. Look at how tall if you stacked like anything, a million of them versus if you stacked a billion of
Right.
them and get a feel for how
Right.
big a billion is. Elon Musk lost over 60 billion in value. Jeff Bezos lost over 60 billion in value recently, like
Mm,
in this year. Um, the heir of L'Oreal, the beauty company, her name is Francois Betancourt Myers. She lost 30 billion. And there's a long list of people who lost billions of dollars. So I
I
have
bet
a
it
few
doesn't hurt
questions.
as bad if you're a billionaire and all your
Oh,
billionaire friends are losing too. You're like, okay,
oh,
like,
if
you know what I'm saying?
yeah, Rabash has a cute little anecdote. He said something like, if I have zero and I go to if I had $0 and now I have $50, that's one thing. But
Right.
if I had 100 and now I only have 51,
Yeah.
like I feel really bad. Even though I have
Yeah.
more than the guy who has 50, I still
Yeah.
feel really bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
so there's a lot of psychology to this, but
Yeah.
questions are what is how does a person how does nature arrange it that a single person can amass this kind of wealth? In days gone by, you would have to conquer a country. You would have to have a lot of people paying taxes to you. You'd need to have castles and ships and an army to have relatively that much wealth.
You kind of need to
You
inherit it, right? Basically.
somehow it would take a long time. It's not something you make in a year, a few years, and you would need to have huge army to be able to do something like that.
Oh, you're saying that this the whole idea of like billionaires that ever existed is basically what you're saying. Like that didn't really exist in the past. Is kind of
The
what you're saying.
people who were the most wealthy people had to have a country, a kingdom,
Yeah,
land, people paying
yeah,
taxes to them, something. So
yeah.
and so now there's this phenomenon. Of course, what is it called, Chris? The technological theory that everything grows exponentially, like data
Oh, like
storage
Moore's
and
law or something.
processing
Yeah,
power.
Moore's
Yeah,
law.
Moore's law.
Yeah.
That processing power and data storage. I think you talked last week that you can that there's more technology on a phone than was on the space shuttle, like
I
the first
still don't think
rocket to
we
Mars.
get it. We just don't get it. We don't get that how the what leap happened. It's just we can't grasp it. It's incredible, really, but yeah. We're just used to it. It's amazing how humanity just gets used to things like that. You know, something so incredible. Even 40 years ago, to imagine what it's like today. We can imagine what 40 years ago was, you know, like bell bottoms and all these things like, okay, yeah, things were different, but that different, you know? That different, like, you know, this piece of technology, it's amazing. Uh, capitalism helped us out a little bit, and it also helped out others a little bit more than
Yeah,
than
that's one of our
others.
questions. But it's on
Ah, okay. Okay.
2022 minus 2007. The iPhone has been around for 15 years. Mobile phones, the fact that we are all, if you walk through New York City, Chris, I don't know if it's like this in Petah Tikva, Tel Aviv. Everybody is like this. Every time you're walking down the sidewalk, you get to a crossing, a crosswalk. You're waiting to cross. People pull out their phone. You pull up to a red light. You look at the car
Hmm.
next to you. Next to you, everybody pulls out their phone.
Hmm.
Everyone on the
Or
train,
less.
everyone's on
I
the phone.
imagine
We're
it's less here.
constantly. So everyone is on this. This is only 15 years. So this exponential development that is uh, that characterizes our generation. Everything growing exponentially, exponentially, exponentially. Here's another one. Kanye West was worth
Oh
over
yeah.
$1 billion,
Yeah.
and then he lost some deal with the sports apparel company, and the next day he lost $1 billion. So what is it? So let's just put this on all these examples, or just to put on the shelf for a minute. How is it that so the idea of Moore's law, that things are growing exponentially in technology?
It's like
We also
it's how many basically how many transistors you can fit in on a chip, let's say, in layman's. Like it used to be I mean you're getting into nanometers. So basically you're running out of room because you can't even put transistors close enough now because you're basically like 6 atoms apart now. So
yeah,
eventually Moore's law just runs out because you can't even there's no
six
room left.
atoms apart. It's
Yeah, it's crazy.
incredible,
Yeah.
incredible. So to make billions and then to lose billions.
Yes.
The problem that I see. Well, let's leave the money on the side for a second.
Yeah.
What are you drinking there?
The tea is just it's a cinnamon apple, but it's just a perfect temperature. You know, like you just want to keep
Ah,
that temperature forever, but you just don't. There's a window, and that's it. You gotta you gotta take
yeah,
advantage of
enjoy
it.
that. Um, so let's put the question of this exponential development of money on the side for a minute. There is a quote that is attributed to Joseph Goebbels. He was the Nazi head of Nazi propaganda, and he
Oh
said,
yeah,
"Repeat a lie." Well, this quote is attributed to him. I don't know if he actually said it, but you see it all the time attributed to him. Repeat a lie often enough, and it becomes truth. Okay,
yeah.
so what happens is that if a person gets money and wants to influence others by donating to politicians or endorsing certain things, like putting a message out over and over and over again, you could really change people's minds, even if you have no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to show you something. This
Okay.
is a celebrity endorsement um, for the FTX, that that crypto exchange that
Exchange. Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm.
imploded. Okay, so I want you to see this.
I want to see.
I'm going to show you. Can you see this screen here? You see this screen here?
Yep. Yeah, yep, yep.
CBS, NFL. Okay, so
NFL tickets on StubHub.
this
Oh
is
no,
one of the
CBS.
biggest
Okay.
super. Okay, this is one of the biggest supermodels in the world and one of the biggest sports stars in the whole world.
Can I touch you,
Promoting,
boss?
promoting.
Yeah, yeah. What? What happened? Oh.
You don't see the tweet playing
Oh,
this little
oh no!
video.
It played for a second and then it stopped.
Okay,
Is it
tell me if
playing
it
on your
plays.
end?
Is it playing?
No, it's not.
It's not
Is it
playing.
playing? No, no, not on the stream either. It doesn't look like.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Wait, wait. Now it is. Now it is. Now it is.
I'm in.
Okay.
Whatever. Who's that?
Oh, wait. Now it's not. Oh, did you try to full screen it? Maybe that's what happened.
I quit.
Okay, I'm going to stop
Oh,
sharing it if we're having technical issues with
all
it.
right. Well,
The
what
point
happened?
is, the point is that this famous football player who's married to a famous supermodel do a commercial promoting this cryptocurrency exchange, and they're calling
Ah,
everybody saying, "Are you in? Are you in? Are you in?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, I'm in." Like that says to their boss, "I'm out of here. Like I'm in this now." And the next person
yeah.
says, "Yeah," and then someone who he hates answers the phone. He's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "I never want to talk to you again." He's like, "Okay, but yeah, but you can trade like this and make all this money." He's like, "All right, I'm in." So it's like everyone just basically throwing all their values out at this chance to quick money, and
But it's a commercial.
there's a commercial for
Yeah.
this exchange. But what happens is when you have money, you can influence people. You can make commercials. You can hire celebrities. You can get people to um, cross the line of where their
Right.
values are in
Yeah.
order to.
Well,
So
that's how
so
Beats by Dre. Remember, terrible headphones. I mean, terrible headphones. I'm not an audiophile by any means, but they basically just paid a bunch of athletes and important people to just walk around wearing them, and then it was like, oh, Beats, they're the best, but they're not. They were terrible, terrible headphones, terrible.
okay, I didn't.
Maybe now
Well,
they're
but
better
yeah.
after
So
Apple bought them, but yeah, it works. It works.
okay, now this is one more thing I want to show you. This is going to be on YouTube, so I'm hoping this is going to work. So please tell
Okay.
me if this one works.
Maybe just don't full screen it because maybe that's what's causing an issue there.
Okay, let's
You
see.
can keep it smaller.
You
Theater
see
mode.
this?
Yep.
Okay, watch. So there,
Mhm.
watch this woman right here. Everyone in the elevator. This is an experiment. Everyone in the elevator is facing the back of the elevator, which is very
Facing the
weird.
oh, like the doors
She's
behind
facing
them.
the
Okay. Yeah.
she's facing the
Okay.
normal direction. She's facing the normal direction, and
Yeah.
people are getting on and people are getting off, and all of a sudden, after this is like a minute in, another step, and she's like, "What is going
Oh,
on
poor
here?"
girl.
And she's
Yeah,
starting to
she
like
feels the
fidget,
pressure.
and then she's like,
I'm just
and she
gonna.
turns and faces the back of the elevator.
Yeah, she does at the half. She does the half turn first just to check. Like, hey,
Yeah,
I'm getting
right.
comfortable.
Yeah, yeah, and now she's
It's
all the
not
way
peer
facing
pressure.
the back.
It's I'm more comfortable this way. Oh wow. Yeah, she did it.
There's
She did the full
something.
rotation.
Yeah, she did the full rotation. There's a lot of experiments like this, and we're really racking our brains. How can we get our message out? But there's fundamental things that operate all of us,
Yeah.
and that becomes also an issue around the billions, because if you can get everyone to stand backwards,
Yeah.
then everyone else, if you can get like 40% of the people, maybe another 20% will start doing it. Now you got 60% of the people, if
Wait,
even
doing
if
what?
you
Being billionaires?
anything, no,
Oh,
no,
oh.
if you have money to influence a group of people.
Oh, you're talking about influence. Influence is what you're saying right
Yeah,
now. Yeah, 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 yeah,
influence.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Influence.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, spirituality has another perspective. Asaf would shoot me down if he was here already, saying that they're all puppets and this is all in the hands of the
Oh,
creator. But we put a few things on the table here.
yes,
Um,
we did.
money, exponential growth of money. Why did they get it and not us? And what does it mean? What does money mean? What does the influence it has mean? And why do we, after you can already pay for everything, after these famous sports people, for example, or Mark Zuckerberg and these other people, after you have more houses than you can ever visit and more stuff than you can ever use, what is this um, insatiable desire for more? And then how is it possible to lose billions so fast?
Well, it
What
is
is
weird.
money?
It is weird. Money is weird, right? It's a weird concept. Like, okay, I'm going to the store. You have a candy bar, and you're gonna lose the candy bar because you're gonna give it to me. But I'm basically covering it with this piece of paper that I'm giving you. Okay, yeah, it's not a piece of paper, right? There's value, but there's no intrinsic value. It's a piece of paper, right? That's just there.
The
And
whole
this
value is
person
that everyone
accepts
believes it.
Everyone believes it, right? So first of all, whoa. If we all agree that this is worth something, look how powerful that can be. We're ready to build
all standing-
empires, you know? Based on this concept, like, hey, if you believe it, I believe it, let's agree, let's trade it around, and then we can just do great things. That's crazy. It really is crazy. Let's say maybe it used to be something of value back in the day, like, I don't know, food? Or what did they do on it was trading,
there was
basically,
gold.
bartering.
There's a gold, and before gold,
Well, gold
there
is still,
was
it's still, a person ascribes value to it. It's not like, oh, I could actually
shells.
use this for myself, shells and stuff, but you have like spice, like I'll barter. I'll give you some spices if you give me some fabric, kind of thing.
Oh, you're
like
going
that.
way back.
Oh, I'm going way back because at one point, everyone's kind of like okay with what they have, and they need a little bit more, but there's too much. It's too much space. It takes up too much space. So give it to me in like a little small thing. So we're like, okay, guys, let's agree that this little thing here equals this little thing. So after that, we're just kind of like develop. So then it becomes kind of like a game, like what you're saying is these people are playing the game so well, and we've talked about this before. I think we've even mentioned, kind of alluded to it being a game. You played the game so well that you actually, what is power? You actually you have your hand on the valve, and you're basically like having this valve, and you can open the valve to the people and say, hey, I'll give you this pleasure. I'll give you I'm holding the play. Like, I don't know, Apple, for example. Yeah, you want iPhones? Cool. I'll give it to you. You give me some things and I'll give you the thing that you want, right? So it's like this, it's kind of a mutual relationship, but it's actually not. It's more like you told me that I need it. I actually don't really need it, but you told me that I need it. And so I'm kind of enslaved to that idea. We don't need to go down to the whole enslaved, but let's just recognize that there is some kind of relationship here, right? I mean, there is a relationship. It's just weird. It's just weird that concept exists. But when too many people, let's say, first of all, we're living in a time where egoism is like, you can see egoism so blatantly that someone with influence, doesn't matter who it is, anyone who has power and influence, they're not thinking about doing good, right? I mean, that's obvious. They're thinking about doing good to themselves.
Well, interesting. This guy, Sam Bankman-Fried, this 30-year-old guy. Remember Nas Daily even did a thing like, I found the greatest, most benevolent billionaire alive.
That's exactly how he's a good guy.
He's a good guy. Yeah.
Yeah. He's got messy hair. He's like one of you. He is like me, only thinking about himself. Okay, yeah.
Well, comes the wisdom of Kabbalah, and well, okay, carry on about money before I derail our conversation here with all of my thoughts.
It is going to get very.
I'm going to also close the window right here because
go ahead.
Can you hear all those machines out there, or you can't?
No.
Okay, then we're good.
Oh, okay. I don't want you to get sweaty or anything, but let's think about what money is for a second, because money. It's not. It's like this kind of pass, right? It's like saying, I have aspirations for freedom, right? Because what does money actually do? It kind of like relieves you. It relieves a little bit. It kind of like takes a load off, right? So you have aspirations, and you want to realize those aspirations. I don't know, any kind of pleasure, food, vacation, which is traveling, I guess, as well, right? Or it could just be, it could be security, it could be wisdom or knowledge, right? All these little things. And money is kind of like the it allows for that to be a possibility for you to realize it for yourself, right? So basically, what we're saying is, money is a force that allows you to like receive this this potential pleasure, let's say. Let's define it like that, right? So if we don't look at it as like this paper thing, right? Let's look at it as a force, because really we're trading in forces. That's kind of how it is. And the wisdom of Kabbalah only speaks about forces, so we can make it easily like that, right? We can talk about it like this. So it allows me to realize those aspirations. But what do we see happening? What do we see happening in the let's say in our last generation regarding that?
I saw today, and I didn't verify it yet, but it came from a pretty verifiable source, that something like 20% of the United States population is on some antipsychotic or on some kind of psychiatric medicine. So it seems to me that people are just more and more empty.
Empty. Yeah.
I mean, we can,
and they're not chasing after billions. Those people aren't chasing after billions, right?
Some of them are, but not all of them.
You know what it means to chase after billion? It means to devote your life to doing that, right? I mean, you have to have a huge fire behind your butt, right, to do that.
Yeah.
That doesn't really exist. It's almost like the importance of that is kind of gone. We're kind of like riding on fumes of the capitalistic society. It's kind of what it seems like. It kind of feels that way, especially when you bring up numbers like that. People are depressed. What I read is people were, it's like bored. It's like they're bored of life, kind of. You don't need to say depressed. You don't need to say, you don't even need to say empty, because that also has a negative connotation. You could say that they're bored. It's kind of like what?
My heating system works, but it's 50 years old.
Yeah.
And a guy came over this week to replace it. He told me he can't replace it. I go, Anthony? I go, what are you doing here? You're the president of the company. I saw, I opened up the magazine, the town magazine. Yeah. It's got the name. That's I called them up. He's the president of the company. He goes, I can't find anybody to work. He's like, I thought you needed service. He goes, I can't even replace this. I don't even have guys who can come and do the work. He's like, I'm willing to pay. I can't find anybody. He goes, I was willing to give a 21-year-old $65,000 and a vehicle to take home and this and full insurance. But I spoke to him about working on Saturdays. He laughed at me. Like, this is the whole other side of the
that's kind of another revolution that's taking place. Although it's kind of connected, right? It's basically the same. It's basically part of the same phenomenon.
Well, how are you connecting them?
Well, people don't really care about, like, if someone's offering you a bunch of money, you don't really care so much. You'd rather do nothing almost. Like what? Like,
well, how's that related to billionaires?
Well, billionaires, it's kind of like they're doing their thing and I'm doing my thing. Yeah. Let them make their billions and do whatever. I just don't really care so much. It's like the opposite. You can't. First of all, you can't divide society into. You can't say no one cares about money or everyone cares about money. You can't make that assertion. You can't really say that. And that's not what we're trying to say. We're just trying to. I want to say something. I want to say a general kind of trend, like you're saying, a general kind of trend. He can't find people to work. And I'm also saying people don't. They kind of like they lost the importance of money a little bit. They lost it a little bit. Let's tie it. I know the wisdom of Kabbalah can help us tie these things together. Let's try.
Okay.
First of all, let's translate what is the wisdom of Kabbalah. Chokhmat Kabbalah, the wisdom of reception. So let's get down to the bottom of it. What does it mean? It's like how to receive. Okay, it's kind of a weird thing. This I'm studying a wisdom for how to receive. Usually it's like I'm studying a wisdom for how to attain eternal life or something or whatever, right? It's kind of weird. Yeah, you think about it.
It's totally weird. I went through a lot of systems, and every system you're chasing the light. You're chasing the highest degree. You walk around in robes and you cover yourself in beautiful oils, which I still love, and I wish we could wear robes. It's just not part of
Nice.
our gig, but
Yeah.
you look holy.
You
Kabbalists
feel
don't
holy.
look that
You
holy.
feel holy
We
too,
look,
right?
huh?
You feel
I
holy
don't think.
too. It's
Yeah, you walk around feeling holy, looking holy, and you're chasing, or you're devoted to this highest attainment. Um, and really interesting in the wisdom of Kabbalah that we we don't have a way, we don't have a vessel yet to even talk about that upper light. So we're dealing with the vessel, with receiving.
right. Because
The
that's
whole
what
thing
we
is
know.
with receiving, and the more we realize. Okay, I'm going to
What
tell
does it
you a
mean to
quick.
realize? What's it? Okay, go ahead.
Well,
Go
yeah.
ahead.
So the if you look at your life, we look at our
Hmm.
lives. The times in our life when we learned the most was when we went through the most difficulty.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you take a group of people, Abraham's group, who started this wisdom of Kabbalah. They ended up as slaves to a huge, very, very wise and powerful empire. So if you're slaves they were in Egypt for a couple hundred years, they're slaves.
Yeah.
These kind of uh, experiences make you wise. Like the more you realize your state, your actual state, and how do I get out of it? How do I deal with this? What am I going to do about this?
Oh well, that means you're not. You mean
Uh,
you're not happy with that state. That's what you mean.
Yeah,
Like how do I?
but
Okay. Yeah.
let's honestly look at life on Earth. It's hard. It's not the happiest place. Also kind of the more of those spiritual things, always talking about how great everything is, how beautiful nature is, how wonderful everything is. But if we look at the reality of the situation,
Yeah.
we're suffering most of our life.
Yeah.
We're feeling empty most of our life.
Yeah.
And I think the exponential growth of money and the kind of value, like what people feel about it, some people not even willing to work for it, is
Right.
us in this generation finally kind of hitting rock
Exhausting it.
bottom,
Kind of exhausting that
exhausting,
idea. Yeah.
exhausting it.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly the idea. Like money as this abstract idea, it's this force that kind of draws fulfillment, and it's like we've used it to draw as much fulfillment as we can. Look at the earth, how we've just taken everything. It's like you can see even metaphorically, just like sucked everything out. Right. It's that's because I want to get to the Hebrew word of money because we're
Get
talking about
there. That's
roots.
what I paid for.
Well, here it is. The Hebrew word for money, kesef, comes from the word kisuf, which is like kisui from covering, right? We even use the store owner example, right? I'm going to buy the candy bar, and he's like, how are you gonna cover this candy bar? I'm gonna lose a candy bar. What are you gonna give me in return, right? So you give him some money. So we can start thinking in the language of like roots and branches. There's this like concept that exists, no physical matter tied to it, no anything tied to it. It's just a concept that exists, and then we see that concept kind of come out in this world as this kind of exchange. You can ascribe to it kinds of actions and things, right? So it's a force now that draws fulfillment. Okay. And if we say that this world is opposite to what maybe spirituality would be, spirituality, right? No one knows what that means. But let's just say that we don't know what it means, but we do know what could be opposite of drawing, which is repelling, right? So kisui is like this covering, and it's a force that if Kabbalah deals with only forces. Money draws, right, in this world, and money, kesef, rejects or repels in spirituality. That's where the word comes from. It comes from kisui, from masach, and the masach that we learn in the language of Kabbalah is something that repels that pleasure. Okay, so we kind of have to think a little bit about what's going on here. First, we have money, and that money in this world gets me the opportunity to receive fulfillment, right? We can boil it down to that. And then money money or this like this freedom to to receive something in spirituality is actually rejecting. You're actually repelling it. So how am I receiving it if I'm repelling it?
I don't know.
We'll
Hold
get
on, hold
there.
on. Slow that
Yes.
down.
Yes.
Say that
Flow.
again. I
And
can
in
tell you're
this
on
world,
fire, and it's really interesting. But I want
we're
to
gonna have to say it. We're gonna say it a
break
couple
down
of
step
times
by
because
step.
it's so
Okay.
opposite. It's so opposite. In this world, if I have money in my hand, I can receive as a result of that money. I can receive pleasure. I can just put the pleasure and stuff it right down into my vessel, into my stomach, into my whatever feels pleasure in this world, right?
Can we
That,
take a commercial break? Let me take a commercial break for a second and just say
yep,
that every person who has billions and billions of dollars, this is not a scientific study, but thinking about it for the last few minutes, they're it seems to me that they're more responsible for more suffering. For example, the wonderful Elon Musk, who is building his electric cars, like how many child laborers does he have in the mines to get the lithium and whatever else they need? Think
they're
about
living on a different planet, man. They're
you,
living in a
you think
different
about
world.
Apple, who made these phones. Like how many in China people jumped out of the window and committed
Right.
suicide in Foxconn or these other factories where they had
Yeah.
terrible working conditions, being paid really low wages.
We
So
talked about slave labor a couple of shows ago. Go watch
yeah,
it
yeah.
if you're
So it
interested.
turns out like the more that, and how do these people sleep at night? They don't think about it.
They don't.
Um,
That's what I'm saying. They're living on in a different world.
so
Yeah.
each time a person acquires this incredible wealth, it's always at the expense of others.
Well, yeah.
And the more wealth, the more exploitation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because
Okay. Now
in that
that was our
transaction,
commercial break.
well, in the transaction, you're giving me a candy bar, which you could say has X value, and I'm giving you some money, which you could say X value. But really, there's always one party which is profiting a little bit more. And you do that enough times, then you've accumulated a lot of profit, or you do it with enough, then you really accumulate a lot of profit. And then you can control more, which this whole aspiration for influence and power is just another desire, right? It's just another pleasure. So money actually stops being what you can purchase with that money to provide yourself with pleasure. It becomes this ability to raise yourself to another level of pleasure, which is above money, which is power and influence, right? Which is even more. So that's interesting. So let's go back to the idea of money. So hopefully we can start understanding a little bit now that Seth, if I'm done, like we said, I'm exhausted. Let's say I'm exhausted. Like I'm exhausted, kind of this whole yesterday as today as yesterday,
This
and
is
tomorrow as
critical,
today.
Chris. This is
Yeah.
a critical point for us to realize the lowliness of how we relate to each other, the true egoistic extent of our relationships, that we're always exploiting each other. Like you said, I get the candy bar, you get the money, but someone's always
A
getting
little bit
more
more.
than the
A
other.
little bit. Yeah.
To reach this point where we realize how egoistic we all are, how egoistic all our relations are, how lowly it all is is the place where from there and only from that
Right.
lowest point can we develop some kind of genuine desire to change.
You're
Because
basically saying
before that,
suffering. You're kind of saying suffering, right?
if yeah, I guess so. But if it's before that, like if I get down to degree 99, not to 100 yet, I'm down to 99, and then all of a sudden I can be lured by this famous football player and his supermodel ex-wife tell me I
Right.
can be really rich tomorrow. I'm still willing to
Right.
get back in the game,
Yeah.
right? I
Yeah.
get back up
I
and
didn't
brush
lose
the
it all the
dust off
way.
my
Yeah.
shoulders, but
Yeah.
until
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
reach all of us together this kind of general agreement, and it comes from not something that we're going to hear in our ears, but from that feeling of what's really going on, the true egoistic extent of all of our relations, and
Yeah.
how fruitless it is.
Well, that's first of all, I think that's up to us. Those people who feel a little bit and have some kind of direction. It's up to us. It's kind of to expand that, but also it's important to go back to the idea that we're if we're exhausted from this life, exhausted from trying to fill ourselves, because that's what we're saying money is actually doing, right? We're saying money is like the key to like somehow being happy or being fulfilled in whatever way. Even if we don't believe it, we're forced to use it. We're forced to play the game, right? So what I'm saying is we're on the verge of like this transition into being forced to operate a different way. If I cannot fulfill myself with pleasure, I just can't. I mean, think about it. We talk about 1,000 times. You buy a car. They even have a chart like how long you're enjoying the thing after you buy it. You remember saying something like this? Like you buy a car, it's like for a week or whatever. You buy a house, it's for 2 weeks or things like that, right? Get married, all these kinds of things. So, but there's some things that money can't buy, like eternal life or even really health. I mean, it doesn't matter how. Look at Steve Jobs, right? So there's some things that because he died of cancer and he's a billionaire and
Yeah.
right. So the practice of trying to fill ourselves, that is futile. I think we're starting to feel a little bit how that's futile. And the wisdom of
Yeah,
Kabbalah
you
comes.
start
Yeah.
you start like, okay, you get some power and you're like, okay, I'm going to be in politics or I'm going to do this or I'm going to do, and
Yeah.
right away you're just swallowed up right again. And you're like,
Yes.
you lose it clogs up all the spiritual channels because
Yeah.
you can't fight against that. It's
It's even
like
dirtier.
so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, so I feel listen, they have their roles. The billionaires, they have their roles, and I want to get back to the billionaires in a second because I want to kind of touch a little bit. I want to explain to you a little bit about what the other option is instead of filling myself, right? Kabbalah says that we are actually created to enjoy from giving. Now, yeah, there's a lot of like do-gooders and all these things, but that's not what we're talking about because
Yeah, I
our
almost clicked
root.
off the show. What are you talking about?
And listen to this. We have a world, we have this reality, and then we have ourselves. No other being in reality aspires for wealth or influence or power, right? No other being except for us. Only human beings. We have this kind of like desire. It's like wants to control a little bit, wants to influence that. Usually for my own benefit, right? I want to influence you for my benefit, or it's like this. It's like this something from within that kind of makes you want to like take your infinitely large hands and just kind of control the world and bend them to your will, right? We have that desire because that is our root. We were created as a result of this of the ultimate ruler, this ultimate force that ultimately rules and influences all of reality. This force that sustains and creates life. That's where we came from. So if we're finally starting to figure out that, hey, the way that we're going about things is not fulfilling, I feel like taking I feel like I'm going crazy and being depressed, right? If that's what I'm starting to feel, it's a good sign because then I'm going to start looking in a different direction, and you can start introspectively, maybe checking out what are the things that are making me operate, and you can see that they exactly point to that root of that one force that created. So that's why I feel like ruling, and that's why I feel like having influence over others because my root comes from that same force. So that same force though doesn't receive for itself, but we do receive for ourselves. So that's kind of the problem. So what do you need? You need spiritual money. You need spiritual money, which is what you're
How
rejecting
do I
the
get
pleasure.
spiritual money?
How do you get it? Well, maybe we can save that for another show. But what is it? First of all, let me explain to you what it is. It's a force that rejects the pleasure. Let's say that naturally you want to receive pleasure, but because you've gone through so many incarnations and you've lived a life that you experienced a lot, you realize that actually doesn't fulfill you. Oh, I do hear. Is someone grinding some concrete out there?
Okay, and now you can hear it. Okay, so I'm going to
Yeah.
close the window.
All right, go. That's funny because last night I had the same exact
Is that
sound, so
better?
I know what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. So if I can't be fulfilled by stuffing myself with pleasure, and we start seeing that's actually not our root, right? Our root is is something that's completely opposite. Then the pleasure that we can feel will be in resembling that root, which means to give. I mean, that's the force of nature. It's giving, constantly giving. Mother nature, right? It provides, it
Okay, but
gives,
this
right?
always bothers me. This
No, let's
part
hear
of
it.
the
Let's hear
this
it.
part of the explanation always bothers me because it sounds so ridiculously naive. We're gonna give and love. We're just gonna love. Well, love already. It's not as naive, but we're gonna give.
As long as you have
Give
discussed
everything
to
we
it,
have,
that's
and then we're
already
gonna be
good.
happy. Huh?
As long as you discussed it, that's already a good sign.
Why is it good if I discussed it? If it's disgusting
Because
to
then
me, to think.
it's pointing at how it is that you actually feel about it.
Oh, I mean, it means I'm an egoist. It's
It
pointing out how
means
much of an egoist I am.
it just no, it's not saying ego is bad or good. It's just saying
Don't be
this is one way
nice.
of doing it and there's another way of doing it. If you don't like doing it this way, if you're not happy, if you're not fulfilled, try the other way. That's all it's saying. It's not saying good or bad. But if you want to do it the other way, you need to have the money. You need to have this force. Just like money, we said in this world is also a force, right? It lets me buy, receive things. You have a force that repels things. But if you're repelling it, where is it going? Well, we can get into that. But basically, what happens is we're gonna have to rearrange our society to where this in exchange of money is this ability to do good to others. So I'm not worried about myself. I don't need to worry about myself because that's exhausting. I did that for thousands of generations already. What
We're going
needs
to
to
need
happen?
some kind
Yes,
of exponential leap, though, in our consciousness to get to that. The same way that
but
there's an exponential leap in technology and an exponential leap leap in how much money certain people can have, it seems like we're going to need an exponential leap in our consciousness.
well, it happens. It does happen, but where does it start with? Remember, where did the computers start with? Like these huge rooms that were floors upon floors. How do they say meters or yards? Football fields, right? Multiple football fields of these rooms over to the computer. So it
Processing
starts.
machines, yeah.
It has to start somewhere. Yeah, but then there is an exponential leap, but it does have to start somewhere. Maybe it just starts by us two having a conversation, and maybe some other people listening. I don't even know if they're listening. Maybe they are. I hope they are because then they're gonna start
They
thinking
are.
about it a
They're
little
chatting like they're chatting like crazy over here. If
bit. Is
it
there any?
looks like my
Is there
eyes are
what?
no, if it looks like my eyes are darting, it's because I'm trying to see what's going on over here.
I'm curious to know what's going on.
There is a lot going on over there, but I didn't read it in depth yet.
We get let's
They,
look to see what they have because I feel like the idea is maybe clear, right? If I want to be fulfilled in a different way that I'm fulfilled now, then I have to use money in a different way than I'm using money now. Not actual money, right? I have to use the force, right? Instead of using that force to receive, I use it to somehow let others give,
no, but Sam
and that's the
Bankman-Fried
currency.
wanted to use his money to give.
Here we go.
That's what he
Now
was
we're back
saying.
around
He
to
did
the
a whole show
billionaires. Let's
about
talk
it.
about that. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, he it's such a joke, and we knew it was such a joke when it came out. But it's like anybody who says like I'm gonna make a new technology that's gonna everyone's gonna go solar. You're like, no, you're just making a technology to get rich.
And
There
everyone
is
knows it.
no way. There's no well, but not really because if we
Maybe
look
he
at like what's
didn't
going on
actually.
with the whole climate stuff in the U.S. right now, it's such a money grab. It's such a money grab. They have billions. There's so many agencies with billions and billions and billions of dollars, and all of the problems are only getting worse. Nobody's
Yeah.
actually fixing anything. So
Right.
someone comes out and he's like, I'm going to take all of my billions and I'm going to give them to causes that are going to. No, you're not actually. Whatever causes, you're not solving any problems. Problems are only getting worse.
Didn't he actually give it to like some political party? He said he's going to donate it
He
to
was the
some.
second biggest donor to one of the political parties, but it's not even the point.
So I mean,
Anything you do with it,
but that's
any
subjective. Like what he thought
philanthropy.
was going to be good, it's not good for. Yeah, exactly.
So it will for hopefully it will happen exponentially fast because until then, because all the celebrities and because all of the important people that we value in our lives are telling us that this is how it works, you have to get a lot of money, and then once you get a lot of money, then you can influence people, and then once you influence people, then you can make a change, and it's all BS, everybody. It's not happening. Actually look at your life. What problem? Did they solve hunger? Did they solve poverty? Did they solve homelessness? Did they solve, I don't know that people could actually afford to buy food. No, they didn't solve anything. And the organizations keep growing and their budgets keep growing and the fundraising keeps going and they didn't solve anything. So where is the,
Are you
where's
saying there's
change
no
going to
hope?
come from?
I see hope in
There's
that.
no,
I see hope.
no, tell me where.
I see hope in the fact that everyone's exhausted and doesn't believe in anything. But at first they did believe in this money, that it was powerful and can make changes, and now they're saying that there's no hope. I mean, we just talked about how billions is such a big word that we don't understand it, and I can give billions of dollars to any cause, put it anywhere that I want to make whatever I think is a good change. No one believes that there's actually going to be a good change.
Because of the nature of creation, because of the nature of nature, a person will inevitably, just like the woman in the elevator, will just follow after a person will just follow after their ego again. They won't be able to help it.
No, but it works the other way too.
Which way?
It works the other way too. Just
How?
as long, the same way that a person wants to follow the ego and make a bunch of money and engage in that world, a person can also somehow attach themselves to another environment where they turn the other way and actually start giving, because that's what nature does. That's the force of nature that does that as well. So they want to resemble that. Oh, and they actually are infinitely fulfilled from that. Now listen, all that's like high talk, and we don't need to talk about infinite fulfillment because we can't even talk
I mean,
about
if you're
pleasure.
talking about infinite fulfillment, I'm in.
But
just where do I sign up? How much
you
does it
just
cost?
need to know that the way that you're doing it now, if it's not working, that you just need to know that there's another way to do it. That's all you need to know. You can go explore it yourself and figure out whatever you want to do. No one needs to, you can't do a marketing campaign for spirituality, but no one needs to market to you the fact that this style doesn't work anymore and you're not fulfilled. You don't want to wake up and pursue, that great career for a reason. You feel that for a reason.
So in order to get, so by the way, everybody, we're not advocating everybody quitting their jobs tomorrow. Not at all. Kabbalists
Strange
live in
times
two
though,
world,
we are living in.
yeah, really strange times. So we are still managing in this world because that's how nature is made. So let's just put that as a disclaimer. We're still living in this world, but somehow this change won't come until you're on your way to something, but then the price is right and you're diverted again. You're on your way towards something and then some opportunity comes and you're off the track again. And I can find in my life times when that happened. I'm sure everybody can point to times in their life where they were going towards something, but they were willing to, divert because of some kind of payout in honor, payout in respect, payout in, like, you can look back at the ways we dressed or ways we behaved or things we did or all these things because we have this nature, we have this receiving nature. I still, you said it 3 times. I still don't understand what you meant when you said that spiritual money means to give.
I have an idea. Let's say that this is a spoon and then just multiply it by like 10 feet, okay? If you hold the 10-foot spoon in your hand, can you feed yourself?
No.
Imagine that this is a really long spoon. It's going to miss my mouth, right? How do the 50 trillion cells in your body operate? They're not thinking about just caring about themselves. They're thinking about maintaining the body, right? They're not thinking they don't have a brain, but let's just say that there's this encompassing force that kind of negotiates that, right? So if we can arrange ourselves in such a way to where I realize that I have a 10-foot spoon in my mouth and in my hand, and I can't feed my own mouth, I have to feed somebody else, and somebody else has to feed me. If we arrange ourselves in such a way, then that spoon is like it's like the money. It's like the spiritual money. It's like my ability to give to others. And if I can give to others, then another person can give to me. That's kind of it has to be mutual. And that's kind of the key. It's beautiful if you think about it.
And what happens, what's the benefit? Like, for example, if I can go out into the wilderness and get what I want for myself, or I can go out into the wilderness and you can give it to me,
We're in different times.
why is one better than the other?
We're in different times. We're in different times. The times
Well,
that we're
why is
living
it
in now
better? Why,
are
why is it better? Why is giving better than receiving?
it's not that you, first of all, you don't know that it's better than receiving. You just know that receiving is bad. And once you know that receiving is bad because I feel bad, you're willing to try out what giving is. You're willing to hear it, to hear about it, to listen to it, to think, Mel, the
Yeah, but it's the
spoon, you
wisdom
gotta
of
feel.
receiving. It's not the wisdom of giving.
Right. So by giving, I'm actually fulfilled because the other person has a spoon, let's say, and they're feeding me, and I realize, oh, that's the actual pleasure. I've been trying to put steak in my throat and do that for my entire life, and think that that's called life. When really, I have someone taking care of me, and I feel like these hands are just holding me. It's actually the entire humanity. It's actually all of nature that's just holding me, and I can put myself in that position and feel what it means to be completely taken care of and not have to worry about myself at all as long as I participate mutually.
That's an incredible feeling. I've had times in my life where I've been around people where I wasn't buying anything, and I can't really think like I had like a lot of jewels on or anything like that, but you're with people and everyone is kind of taking care
Mm.
of everyone, and you feel like this is perfect. This
Isn't
I
it
don't
good that
this is
nature's lets us feel that sometimes? It like gives us a little taste, like, hey, yeah, this, you know, like this
yeah.
can there's such a thing there. Yeah, that's cool. I
But
know what you
still,
mean.
it feels like it's a million miles away. The concept you're trying to bring here. We're talking about billionaires and things happening here on Earth, and you're talking about some. It
Yeah.
still sounds very naive. I just want you
Well, it
to
is.
know
It
that's how
is.
it feels to me.
Well, I mean, because it's not realistic right now. But at least we can talk about it. Think about 50 years ago, we're going to talk about it. You know, billionaires don't even exist, and it's like the more that we use money, the more we get exhausted by it. So it's almost like nature had to create this system or these circumstances where many people. I mean, how many billionaires are there in the world? Many of them had to experience what it means like that, this ultimate wealth, all for us basically globally as like a mass to feel that that is not worthwhile or it doesn't benefit. It's kind of like it was set up that way. But if you go back 50 years ago, 100 years ago or whatever, people are going to have a completely different approach. But at least they're willing to listen a little bit
Right.
about another
All
option.
that time ago, you had no. The king was like far away in some castle, and you never would think that you could um, reach anything like that. Today, it's like, oh, it's like I could, like a kid, a
Yeah.
20-year-old doesn't want to work because he's like, either give me a billion or like give me nothing because I'm not,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
until it all kind of the billionaire and the 20-year-old kid who doesn't want to work become almost equal in this as far as spiritual power goes. They both reach this, the whole kind of society reaches this conclusion
Nice.
that that this isn't working.
Right.
This isn't working anymore, and we have to do things different. And um, even without saying what is going to work, the first spiritual revelation really is that true revelation of emptiness there. That's actually, Rabash calls it like the first true thing you ever thought, is when you realize
Yeah.
how much of a corrupt, how corrupt it all is, because then we're ready. Uh, let's also remember we're part of a huge natural system here. We don't have to make it up. We don't have to invent anything. We're in it. We just have to
Right.
reveal it.
So on one hand, it's a very, let's say, kind of depressing. It could be depressing if you think of it in one way, but as long as you have the other thing, as long as you have like the idea, the concept of the spoon in your hand, then you already are willing maybe a little bit to let go. And not to say that it depends on you to let go, because it really depends on society to kind of make their mind up that they want to let go of the old ways and move to a new way. It doesn't really depend on you, but at least we're talking about it. At least we're thinking about it a little bit. At least there's some people, I don't know, that are willing to listen to it. I think we're making progress. I think we're making progress. I had a great time with you today. And I can't wait to do it again later, another time. I don't know. You have something else to say?
Well,
I ran out of things.
no. We're gonna we need to deal. Maybe you can chew on this concept of kisui, the spiritual money concept. Maybe we can bring that up again.
I'm sure we will.
Yeah, let's do that again. All right. We'll see you next Thursday, right? Next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Asaf, wherever you are in the universe. Hello, friends all around the world. Thanks for being with us. We'll see you soon. Big hug.
All right. Sign us out.
Wake up from this nightmare we've been facing. Wake up. Tell me how are we gonna overcome? Wake up. Wake up from the hatred and separation. Wake up. We got to cover it with love. Wake up. Wake up. Tell me what is happening with our nation. Wake up. It seems our union's been overrun. Wake up. Wake up. We got a sticky situation. Wake up. The time is now to get stuck on love. Wake up. We got to find a new way to love. Call it now together. We've been trying to fix our way. Please help us change our nature. We want to live in love and unity.